Welcome to the next room. Yeah. Welcome to the next room. From the field on my way to the next room. Welcome to the next room.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Next Row. I'm your host, Vernon Davis. Today, I have the Tommy Davidson. Tommy, what's up, baby?
Everything is good. Everything is good. Good to see you. I'm seeing you. You're seeing me. We still here.
Yeah, I know. We're still breathing, man. Hey, Tommy,
Yeah.
before we get into anything at all, tell me about your new show.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Me and Martin got together about 5 years ago. I called him on the phone and I said, man, there's no black talk show host. You know how much black talent is not going to be on the air because of that? And I was talking to actually Kid from Kid and Play. And he said, man, why don't you call Martin and ask him if you can do Varnell Hill as a TV show. You know, me and him wasn't getting along with him at the time. So he was like, you call him, you call him, you call him, you call him. You know what I mean? And I said, okay, I call him. And I called him, hey, what's up, man? Like time never passed. You know, like time never passed, man. Hey, man, what's up, boy? What's up, man? And I said, what I said, like, hey, there's no black talk show host on the air. If we were to do the Varnell Hill show, do you know how that would blow? And he's like, yes, he said, you know what? That will work. He said, call Rob, because his family runs the company. They onwards and forward. They're going to get it done no matter what. So he said, call Rob tomorrow. I called Rob. He said, what's up, shorty? I said, Martin said that he really likes this idea I had. What is it, John? And I told him, he said, oh, man, that'll be nice. Y'all need to go ahead and do that. I got you. And so it took 5 years.
Uh-huh.
It took 5 years, but he wasn't lying, though. We got it done. So now we're 8 episodes in. We're in a kind of a holding period until we know we're going to be a series. But the way it was shot and with what happened, you haven't seen anything like that since the early to mid 90s. Everybody came just to watch. Everybody, Light. I mean, just name them. I keep forgetting his real name. Urkel. Everybody was just there. They were just around. They just couldn't believe that they were seeing what they were seeing. Plus, Varnell Hill, he been in everybody's living room for 30 years. You know, catfish delicious. You know, the Varnell man can, and everybody knows it. So our guest came on there for the late night portion, and we had guests for the show itself. So I had Martin and Damon on the screen at the same time doing sketches. Everybody came through. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
And that's how he worked, man. He puts it together. You know, we just
No,
got to stay together, you know?
You just got to stay together. Tommy, you've done a lot of stuff, dating back all the way to In Living Color. I mean, you've gone on and you're still going, man. How do you find the energy to be able to do everything that you're doing?
A mortgage,
Hey, I know that's right, man. I know that's
sale bill, or go money for cornrows or whatever. You know, just being able to provide for my family. You know what I mean? And being able to have access to have access to things that are bigger than you. You know, like being able to travel. You know, like being exposed to new information. You know, and as long as I stay on the highest level that I feel, the success comes from the life that I have and the people that I have around me too. The people that I have around me, and that includes you too. You called me about that show in DC. I said, yeah, I'll be there. And the stuff that came out of that came out of just that and me knowing you and on the front lawn of your auntie house. You know what I mean? You know, it came together. You know, but I was the youngest out of the people in your family that used to hang with him. I was like in 15, 16, and they were in their 20s, you know, your uncles and stuff. And so I learned a lot. And one of the things that I learned for sure, if you put in 100% of the work, 100% of result will come out of it. Rather, it comes out like you wanted to or not. That's not your part. That's not your part. God is in the results business, you know. And that game y'all play, it's the same way. You're in the gym, you learn your plays, you do everything you can, but you got 10 more people out there with you. Once that whistle go off, it's what you learned, and you maximize that. Sometimes you might play the best game, you wanted to win it, kicker missed it. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. I Tom Brady, uh I learned a lesson off of this. Now, Michael Irvin interviewed him after the Russell Wilson interception, and what he said dawned on me, man. He said, now, oh, Tom, now listen to me. Now, I'm gonna ask you this question, and I want you to give it to me real, Tom. Come on now, you the GOAT and give it to me real." And Tom was like, "All right, man, all right, what you got? What you got?" He said, "If Russell Wilson didn't throw that interception, you still think y'all would have won that ball game?" And and Tom said, "Man, I'm just glad he didn't." You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, no, it was if you'd have gave that ball to Beast Mode, do you think you'd be standing there with the body? He said, "Man, I'm just glad he didn't." You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, that's real right there. There's a lot going on right now. I know you you know, Tommy, you know all about football. You grew up watching football. You have friends.
Mhm,
You watch
mhm,
me play, but there's a lot going on.
mhm.
What's your take on the whole Shador Sanders situation?
Um, God will show his hand. God will show his hand. I think out of athletics, that's one of the places that I can extract his presence from. And that's one of the examples where you can have a human being that's at his best and the circumstances can set him back, but can't stop him. You know what I mean? Can't stop him. He comes from D. He's not going to be quiet. He's a pro. He's going to show that. And when God wants him to be where he's supposed to be, it'll happen. But faith ain't one of the kind of things that you can do halfway. It don't go in the register that way, you know? And I can quote it. I can quote the different. I can requote the different quotes I heard that prove that in athletics and in that game. Plexico Burrs. Okay, Plexico, the interview. Plexico, you shot yourself in the leg. You were almost going to go to jail. The season before this, 2 seasons ago. Here you are catching the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Pats to win it. What do you attest to that victory? He said, "This morning I got up and I just asked God, if you just get me to the field, I'm happy with that." Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis, somebody stabbed somebody. He about to go to jail, to do a significant amount of years. He ends up going to Foxborough, right? Winning the AFC Championship game, going to the Super Bowl and getting MVP. They said, "Well, what do you? I mean, you were going to go to jail. You here you are. You're going to do time. They're going to take you out of the league, and you end up being the MVP in the Super Bowl." And he said, "I just knew that God wouldn't put me through such a trial unless it was a triumph at the end." So I listened for stuff like that. The O'Bannon brothers won the national championship. What do you guys attest that to the championship? They said, "Hey, man, they said you were last seed. I mean, you were the last ones who would anybody think you would win the Final Four." And they said, "Well, we just took this season by faith and not by sight." You see? So I learned to really apply those kind of principles that come out of victories because they're bigger than a victory. They're personal, you know? They're personal victory. And that's between you and your maker, whoever you choose that maker to be or whatever. So it's an everyday thing. I was working at the hospital when I met your uncle. He was much older than me, but he took to me, and I hung with him and I watched him, and I got my little car or whatever, and I took it over to the house. They would fix my car and stuff, but everybody really knew I had a talent, and as I went up the ladder, the best thing about that whole situation was nobody treated me any different because of that. Nobody treated me any different, you
Yeah,
know? When I showed up to the house, it was the same. Here go Tommy. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate where I am, in the years that have been put in have really been great for me, because I'm not working at the hospital anymore, but it's still a job. It's still a job. A lot of times you can lose you can lose your way and think that this is more than a job. Nah, man, you do the task, you get paid for it, and in that, you get to live a good life in the material sense.
right. Yep.
You
No,
know what I
you
mean? You get
it
that, yeah. I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
no, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
I
in
cut you
a
off.
material sense, but you start to recognize at a point that the value of all the other things around it, you couldn't have put that in your life, no matter how hard you try. In Living Color,
Yeah, no, no,
I
that's right.
well, in Living Color, I turned it down because I was so upset about not being able to do all the other projects that came my way, and were put in my lap, and then they all went away one day. And my friend said, "Let's go back and do stand-up comedy. Let's stay focused." We went back and did that, and then Keenan called. And I was like, "I don't feel like going through that again. I don't want to be dropped again by somebody. Forget about it." And my agent told me, "Hey, just go on audition. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't." And I got it. And one of the low points in my early career was I didn't get A Different World, and I wanted that. That was going to be my chance. But no matter what we think, what's your chance? What you think your chance is, somebody else got another idea for you. It was not even in my control. They said in Living Color yes to it. Now, would you know all the things that I could do if I did A Different World? No. All the things that I can do, the Sugar Ray, the Michael Jackson, all of the impressions, the MC Hammer, all the accents, all the stuff, it never would have happened with that show. Yet I wanted it. I wanted it. I wanted it. But there was something that wanted it more for me, you know?
Yeah, no, that's powerful, man. And Tommy, you
Mhm,
spoke openly about being abandoned as a baby. How
mhm,
did that
mhm.
shape you as a child? Because you were later on adopted by a white family as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that came in time because I never told anybody that. That was gonna be the secret to the grave, because it affected me mentally and spiritually. I was left in the trash. I was too young to know it. And by the time I was 5, we moved to DC. We moved to Northeast. We moved to Trinidad Northeast during the riots with King after he got shot. And the black kids kicked our ass every day. But I didn't know I was black. And I didn't know they were white. So that affected me because all the violence that was imposed on me, protecting them, just it hurt. Getting the ass whipping hurts, you know? And it hurt me as a person because I was going, "You're gonna do that because I'm a different color." But I didn't know they were a different color. I knew that they were beige because I learned the color from the crayons. I knew I was brown. But my mother told me, when they call your brother and sister white cracker, they don't that's what people our color that's what people your color do when they don't like you. You know what I mean? And I was like, "Well, you're not white, you're beige." Then we moved to Wheaton, Maryland, about 69. And that's the first time I heard the word nigga, and grown men were chasing me. It was like scary. And the famous quote when I went to on Charlemagne's was, I came back to my mom, and it was a real question. I said, "Mom, we who are these niggas? We got to stay away from them." Because those people think they're bad people and they're trying to harm me too. And then she explained, the other way around. That's what people, our color call people your color when they don't like them, you know? And so I always kept that to myself because this is personal too. If I go around black people when I was growing up and they found out I have a white family, they'd be like, You ain't black. You ain't that hurt me." Like, how you going? And usually it comes to that too. And I'm fighting for what? And then when I'm with them, around all white people. It's like it's the looks, the stares. I knew what racism was at a very early age because I can feel the energy of it. Everybody turning the other way. Even as an adult, I went to Boulder, Colorado, to a restaurant, and I walked in and I felt that same feeling. Everybody in the whole restaurant is really white there, and everybody in the restaurant was like, you know. But I learned by then it don't matter. I got so much love from both sides, it didn't matter. It's funny how the creator made me a comedian, because he didn't want my life to be set up to be sad. So now every time I get saw by anybody, no matter how I'm feeling, they're like, oh, oh, what? Oh my God. Hold on, my grandmother around here. Grandma, look, come here. It's her birthday. You take a picture with her? I mean, come on. You see? It turned
Yeah.
the tides, but it was scary, and then finding out, what I thought black was. So I did all the things that I thought black should be doing, like beating people up, stealing, drugs. I thought, hey, I'm gonna do that. You did something one time. I was at Shaq's birthday party or something, right? And it's something in you, man. It's something in you that ain't like them. You know what I mean? And you said, "Where your guns at, man? Where your guns, boy?" You know what I'm saying? I said, "My guns in here." And you said, "Well, what do you mean by that, man?" I said, "How much you can bench press?" You said, "I bench like 480." I was like, "Well, do you do that? Do you bench press with your jaw?" You said, "Why? Why would I do that?" Well, I'm 175. I'm 160, right? So if I take a 160-pound fist and put it in your jaw, then what you got? And you said, you just like my uncle and them. You always talking about fighting. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Tommy, you were 160?
Huh? Well, yeah, I'm about that now.
160 ounces or pounds?
Think back when I was 160. That's what Shannon Sharp told me that. I was trying to tell him the story of me in football, right? And I said, I came back one summer, everybody was big. So I went to practice and I was like, man, I don't know about this. He said, they knocked the football out your arm. And they
Look,
did.
hey, Shannon, funny dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Tommy, hey, we
Yeah,
should.
yeah, Tommy.
Hey,
Tommy,
yeah, yeah, nah, he good dude. So look, let's go back to that. So you,
uh,
you, you had you lived both white, white space. You lived in the white space and the black space.
yeah,
What
at
was
the
the
same time.
both of those, like the biggest challenges? I know that can be tough, man. Like you said, growing up
Yeah,
in the inner city and then trying to
yeah,
identify with black when people know that you're being raised by a white family. That can be extremely tough.
yeah, yeah. It was tough, and I had to fight a lot more than a young man should. You know what I mean? In so many different ways. But I'm definitely black officially because you can't be black and not be black. You can try, but when you
Yeah,
walk through that door, you know, here comes another one. You know what I mean? You're looked at as not a man.
yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
yeah, you look at us not quite complete, but we are as complete as we should be. Anybody who could survive 400 years of what we went through and still have forgiveness in our heart. That's the big part, right? You don't never see us coming somewhere talking about we getting our revenge right now or whatever. We weren't brought into this that way. It seems like that they changed the rules were changed when it came to us because it brought humility to us. I don't know nobody black who grandmother say go to school and fight all the white people you can. They just ain't gonna do it. It's like you be polite. You treat people how they treat you. How you would want to be treated. And that's a huge accomplishment for millions and millions of us who've been here since we caught the lash. When they brought the National Guard and all that stuff to DC, you know, wasn't nobody out there, nobody went out rioting and all that stuff because we're smart enough to know when somebody's robbing a bank. We've been watching him a long time. We also know that if a bank robber is outnumbered with cops around him with guns, he'll grab a little girl and put a gun to her head, because he know he'll get away because the just will never harm the innocent.
Tommy, when was the time when you noticed that comedy was a way for you to to just get the attention of the world? When did you notice that?
I didn't notice it until somebody put a pin on my sports jacket, and I got home and looked at it and it said number one comedian. But the story is I started out at Ibex on Georgia Avenue. Period. My buddy Howard, who grew up with me up in Summer Hill off of 16th in Georgia, where I grew up, he told me when I got a job at the Ramada Inn as an assistant chef, he said, "Man, you wasting your life. Dude, you could be in Hollywood doing movies. You could do whatever you want to do, man. Man, you got Eddie Murphy. You got all of them, And I was like, man, get out my face. But he hooked me up with his manager where he worked there cleaning up at the penthouse. And I said, I talked to my manager, he's going to let you go on stage. It took like a year. I finally went, and the manager standing there looking at me, is this him? My boy Howard said, yeah, that's him. You got 5 minutes, shorty. And I looked at my friend. I said, man, well, what am I supposed to do? He looked me right in the face. He said, nigga, I don't care what you do. You get on that mic and you say something. From the first thing I said, people laughed. It was a year I was in Hollywood. You know
Wow.
what I mean?
It's
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Did your adoptive family play a huge role in supporting you in your comedy?
Yeah. Not at first, though. My mother ain't really like it because I had to drop out of school uh, because my job at the hospital was tied into UDC. And I actually dropped out of that because I was trying to be a DJ at the radio station, and I interned, cleaned up trash, did all kind of stuff to get a DJ spot. They said, we're going to give you a DJ spot. And they gave it to one of their frat brothers. So I said, I'm out of here. And my counselor, I used to talk to her a lot. She sat me down. She said, I don't think you really, I hate to say this, but I don't think you really belong in college right now. There's something bigger for you. I talked to you. You got different ideas. You already got 2 cars in an apartment. You're 19. You know what I mean? Like, just go ahead and do what you got to do. If college comes back to you, then do it. You know, I meet her 25 years ago. I mean, years later in the lobby, she's walking through the lobby in Miami, and she saw me and started crying. And she said, I was so scared for you because I never told a student not to go to school. And her husband was standing where he said, yeah, she really, that really bothered her. But she said, but one day I saw you on TV. You know what I'm saying? So it was just one of those things where it was meant to happen. It really was. I had a teacher in uh, high school, and I used to do ceramics really good, like pots and busts and all kinds of things. And I used to always have my work in the display in the school, but I never told my boys. And every time I did tell them, man, you ain't do that, punk. You ain't do that. You know what I mean? So I never said nothing, but they set me up, or in my counselor in high school set me up to go to Parsons or to go to SMU. And my mother talked me out of it. She said, you ain't gonna make no money doing that. But when I dropped out of college, she cried, man, and she stopped. And she said, you know what? That was unfair for me because when I found you, I wanted you to go to college. So that's selfish of me. She said, as long as you do something that makes a decent amount of money for you and you're not hurting anybody and you're helping people, then it's cool. And I was actually sitting on my laundry in my laundry room with a friend of mine, Jeff, and your uncle, Ricky. And both of them drove over my house because they knew I had lost the job and I lost school. And we was in the basement, and they was like, you're going to be all right, shorty. You're going to be all right, man. You be cool, man. You just get another job or whatever. It's going to come to you. That Buchanan had a part of that. Him and Jeff was down in the basement, and they gave me a pep talk like, you'll be cool. And they were right, because here I am.
Oh, that's all. What advice would you give any black comedian up and coming, Tommy? What would you tell them?
Um, they don't listen, but I tell them, I tell them, you got to be on stage 7 days a week, no matter what. I don't care if you got a job or you're as a surgeon or whatever. That's what's going. If that doesn't become a reflex for you, then you don't have what it takes. And the only way to build that is through repetition. It's like y'all athletes. You know what I mean? It's like it looks to us when we on the outside looking in, like woo, woo. But y'all are going off of instinct. Y'all are going off of reflex, which y'all learned. You know, you can put your head in it with your emotions, but you know, you can see the tendency. You can see the tendency in a DB. He can see your tendency as a receiver by just simply looking at your feet, which way they go. Y'all know stuff like that, and that's because of repetition, and not giving up. And so it's the same with comedians. I say no means not yet at this club or whatever, and always be on stage and know your time. Know from 1 minute to an hour. Know your time. If somebody comes to you and say, I need 3 minutes out of you, you should be able to do it. Hey, man, I need a quick 5. Got it. Hey, man, could you do 25 minutes? Got it. You see, and that's what comes with that. So I'd say that.
No, no, that's
And
dope.
yeah.
Is there anyone who influenced your comedic style?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a combination of a lot of comedy. I mean, a lot of comedians. And I watched a lot. So Pryor, Eddie, George Carlin, you know, uh, Jim Carrey, just watching made me develop my own style. Made me develop my own style. And I saw myself in some comics. I said, I'm similar to that, or I could do something similar to that. But it all came with that one test, you know, what works for me? What works for me? You know? And it's like kind of like y'all game, yeah, I'm a tight end, but what kind do I want to be? Am I the kind that takes blocking as seriously as I do my routes? I mean, is it going to be about speed or power or both? So you get to make those assessments as time goes on. So I think I'm a combination of what I saw, knowing that I can do it if I worked on it, you know?
Yeah, you've done voice acting, film, stand up. Is there one in particular that was most challenging for you?
I like that. I like that question. Actually, all of them were. It'd be like looking at my kids and say, you get to keep one. Which one? Um, but it's because each and every one of them took focus and dedication, and it took focus and dedication to them individually, getting to know them. You know, so to take voiceover, or to take. I think my phone is still on. Sorry, I had my music playing. I hope that didn't mess it up. Um,
It's cool.
if I was ever asked that question, I said, nah, I couldn't. All of them are really one thing. But if I had a gun to my head, it'd be stand up. It'd be stand up, because stand up is the life of everything. Me being good as a comedian led to the rest of it. I used to think I was a good singer and all this in DC, man. I could sing my butt off ever since I was 4 years old. And I did a talent show in DC, right? And I said, I'm gonna sing. The dude who was like my manager at the time, he's like, man, don't sing, man. Everybody be trying to sing, man. Everybody's trying to sing, Tom. I said, yeah, but man, I'm a good singer, man. He's like, yeah, but man, you a better comedian, man. Like you unique. Like no one can do the things you can do. I said, yeah, but I can sing though. I can win that. And I went in there and I sang Peebo Bryson a cappella and thought I killed it. And it was like, next. And I started listening to him, man. I started listening to him, you know what I mean? But yeah, and it's brought everything else into my life. Now I'm singing on the most top professional level. I'm acting on the top level. I'm doing TV voiceovers and writing, producing
That's
on the
dope.
top level. You know what I mean? But you got to understand what your strong points are. and
You have to. That's right.
sometimes the only way
Yep.
to find that out is to get knocked out real hard and to come to the conclusion that let me build around that strength. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah, and if you
Yeah.
wasn't a comedian, what would you be doing, Tom?
Probably in the kitchen cooking, probably in the kitchen somewhere cooking because I loved it. And that's where I started. I started in the kitchen at Naval Medical Center in Bethesda. By the time I was finished, I was an assistant chef at a Ramada in Bethesda. So that's where it was all going. And when it
That's
disbanded, yeah, when it went its separate way, it was because I couldn't be in the kitchen no more because I was doing all this comedy stuff, and then to take it on as making a living. When I was in LA, I used to catch the bus to a restaurant where I worked at. And as soon as I made as much doing open mics and doing short little shows at places, soon as the money was the same as what I was getting at the restaurant, I walked out and never looked back. So that's what I'd be doing, and
wow.
the bonus is I can do it in my own kitchen. And I know some of the baddest chefs in the world, man.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
That's
Miss
and I had
Dora taught me how to make that.
made some fried chicken. I had some.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, Miss Dora taught me that. And
That
Nelt
was
said,
some
hey,
good
man,
fried chicken, Tommy. That
hey,
chicken was
Nelt, hey,
good.
Nelt, hey, I was at your house and Nelt told me, hey, man, Miss Dora make it like everybody else, but she used this flour right here, and she puts about that much. He taught me. That's where I got it from.
That's
Yeah,
all right, man. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I want to say, man, like, I didn't want to be a comedian or anything like that when I was younger, but having someone like yourself, knowing that you were around and seeing your picture on the coffee table in my grandmother's house, it was always inspirational for me because I had something to hold on to everywhere I went. Like, hey, Tommy Davidson that's my relative, that's my uncle. I used to tell people that
Right,
all over Washington D.C. and that really inspired me to do a lot of the things that I did in my career as well. So, I just wanted you to know that.
man. That I really appreciate that, man. God bless me with your family. Man. I remember going over there, and Dora give you anything. Yeah, she make sure everybody stay out of trouble and stuff. In the basement, she had all them living down there, and everybody was at the same house, you know. So I don't know, I just really respect that. She looked out for me too. Like she always wanted to ask how I'm doing. She tell Tom to come up here, you know, and I talk to her and all of that cutie everybody. It's just, it's just good to have people in your life that really care about what happens to you, and how you turn out,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
big. It is.
yeah, that's
It's all
big.
on how you
How
treat
you
people, man, and how you behave and act as a human being.
Yeah, man, how you turn out, man. It's rough where we came from, and we have a lot of examples of bad, but we later on when we get older, we don't really judge it because those circumstances went over us because of the people that said, I ain't gonna let them touch you. I ain't gonna let them circumstances touch you. It could be even be somebody like close to you, like your brother, or, or like your father. You know what I mean? Like there's something bigger, that wants to see us clear. And then when we get to the point where we exercise non-judgment, man, that is a mature principle. It's a mature principle because that's putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and not judging. Like as if you really know, why they're doing that or why they did that. You got to get to the point where, circumstances and stuff like that you went through, you got through, but it wasn't by your damn self, Yeah.
That's that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the stuff that comes with this, you know, the stuff that comes with the perception of the people around us, we have to come to grips with that too. Where we're actually in a position where we have more than everybody's had before. You know what I mean? And their opinion of it, it seems a bit skewed to you. You can feel isolated in that too, just alone. When somebody say, well, some of us got real jobs, well, how real is it gonna get though? Won't you try what I'm doing for a second? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Try what I go through, you know? Try what I go through, man, and then you won't be saying nothing like that. I just want the same person that I knew, that ain't expecting nothing. You see what I'm saying? And you get to the point where you're okay with that too. You go, "You know what? Hey, man, that's the way they see it. What other way can they see it?" Because we took a unique road, man. We took the road less traveled, man. We went for the top of the top of the top. Then once you're at the top of the top, you realize, wait a second, where everybody else? You know, where's everybody else that count? And once you start recounting that, you just like, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. This man, like Plexico has said, as long as you give me to the field, I'm good with that. You know, as long as you give me the field, I'm good with that.
that's right. That's right. And Tom, as we wind down, I know we're getting close to the end and you got to get out of here. But what was the funniest moment that never made it on air when it comes to living color?
Eh.
And living color.
But I think, you know, besides the blooper reels, uh, the moment, well, it actually wasn't funny, but it turned out to be the best sketch I ever did. It was with Jamie. Jamie tried to tear my drawers off in front of the audience, man. And I ain't know him like that. You know what I mean? So it's like he just got on the show. So I'm running around the massage table and he chasing me, right? But when he grabbed the little underwear I had on, he yanked it and yanked it and yanked it and yanked it and was trying to pull it off. And I was actually running from him, trying to keep it from pulling off, right? So when they say cut, I was gonna bust him in his mouth. And everybody was like, "Hey, man, don't take that serious like that, Tom." And I was like, "Man, fuck that, man. You don't know me like that, man. You don't know what I would do to you." And then I realized that at that point, everybody was laughing so hard, I had to laugh with them. And I realized at that moment, this may be one of the biggest things in TV. You know, my instinct was to, hey, man, I'd have been naked out here in front of everybody. But if it wasn't for me struggling to keep them on, man, we might not have got to that level of funny, man. You know? So I think that was the one. Because soon as it was over, I went at him and everybody grabbed me and was like, nah, man, you can't, why you doing all that? And I'm like, he know, he know, he know, he know. You know what I mean?
That's funny, man. Hey, you funny. Hey,
Yeah,
Tommy, man,
man.
I appreciate you, man. You've been real on here, man. This has been amazing. Look, I want to do rapid fire with you real quick and get you up
Okay,
out of here
hit me, hit
real
me, hit
quick.
me.
Choose one. Eddie Murphy's Raw or Martin Lawrence Run Tell That.
Eddie Murphy Raw.
Founder of Uber or Airbnb.
Uber,
Would you rather do stand-up comedy or comedy movie?
stand-up comedy. That's horrible.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Go ahead.
Coffee or energy drink?
I'll take coffee.
Would you rather an Oscar and make only 50 million or no Oscar and make 100 million? I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I'd take the 60.
You
I
take
take that.
this.
Yeah.
So you want that Oscar, huh?
Well, you know, you know, we take on these things. You know what I mean? And there's one goal in mind with them to hit the highest level of it, right? So you want the highest level. You want the highest level, but when push comes to shove, it says nothing about your skills. You know, it says nothing about your skills. You did a job well. You know, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. What's it, DB, baddest DB ever. Uh, uh, Out of Grambling. Everson Walls. You know, he still ain't got his yellow jacket. One of the baddest DBs of all time. And Everson be telling me, man, hey man, when they decide they're gonna do that, they're gonna do it. I know. I know. You know what I mean? He's like the man that was fishing one day and he threw the fish back and a guy walked out in the water and said, hey man, why you throw that fish back? It was so big and nice. He said, he turned to him and he said, I know I caught him and he know he got caught. That's between me and the fish, you know? And that's what it is.
That's real, man. Tom, I want to let
Uh,
everybody know about Tommy Davidson's exclusive engagement in the Greater Bay Area. Tommy's Tees Pleasanton, Friday through Sunday, December 5th through 7th, 2025, 5104 Hopyard Road, Pleasanton, California. Make sure you support my
Got it.
man. Shows
Yeah.
Friday at 7:30 p.m. and 10 p.m., Saturday at 7 p.m. and 9:45 p.m., Sunday at 7 p.m. Tommy, look, man, I appreciate you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
man.
Thank you for coming on Next Roll. Love you,
Yeah,
bro.
man. Yeah, man. And it's a lot next for you. We'll talk about that. You got
Okay.
some action movie. You got some action movies coming, boy.
Man, I
I don't
appreciate you,
see.
man.
I do not see why not. I do not see
Why
why not. I
not,
do
T?
not see
Why
why
not?
not. Huh? I
I
do
said,
not
why
see why
not, man?
not. I mean, because you can do that, man.
Yeah,
That's in you, man.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's just a matter of circumstance.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's just a matter of circumstance. Yeah, man. You've been all around the world and everything, man. It's everybody gets their turn at what they want to do. You know what I mean? I personally think you'd be good for that, man. That's
yeah.
all.
I appreciate you. Thank you, man.
I'm saying that. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Love you
Thank you.
much, bro.
Love you too,
All
brother.
right.
Good to see you, man.
All right. You too, man. You too. I'll see you soon.
Welcome to the next row.